The silent beginning, hook and suspense. The galaxy had always seen humanity as insignificant, a young species barely emerging from their primitive stage, struggling to make a name in the vast and ancient universe. Powerful alien empires had long ruled the stars, each controlling vast territories and untold resources. The galactic community viewed humanity's efforts with mild amusement. How could such a small, weak species ever change the course of history? But something changed. It started with a faint signal, almost imperceptible at first, but soon it became clear that the message was not of human origin. It was a strange pattern, far too advanced to be created by humanity. The frequency of the signal and its peculiar structure suggested that it had come from beyond known space, from an area where no human ships had ever ventured. At first, the authorities dismissed it as a glitch in their sensors, but the signal didn't fade. It grew stronger, more focused. The brightest minds in the galaxy turned their attention to it, trying to decipher its meaning. And then, a breakthrough. The signal was a blueprint, a design, a blueprint for the perfect warship. Humanity had no idea where it had come from, but it was too advanced to ignore. The ship's design was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. It was sleek, powerful, and terrifying. The blueprint contained plans for engines that defied the laws of physics, weapons capable of destroying entire fleets with a single shot, and a hull that could withstand the most devastating forces in the galaxy. The moment the news was shared across human colonies, a sense of dread settled over the galaxy. It was a secret that humanity didn't know how to handle. Some believed it was a gift, a chance to prove themselves worthy among the galactic powers. Others feared it was a trap. What if this ship was too powerful? What if the galaxy's first mistake was to underestimate humanity? In the far reaches of space, an old empire, the Galactic Dominion, was the first to take notice. The Galactic had ruled the galaxy for centuries, their warships the most feared in the universe. Their military might was unrivaled, their technology a mystery to most. The Dominion had always thought of humanity as a mere footnote in history, but now, the possibility that humanity might possess a weapon capable of rivaling their own fleets was unacceptable. An emergency council was held. The Galactic Emperor, a being of ancient age and terrifying power, ordered his fleet commanders to prepare for any possible conflict. The warship humanity was building could change the course of galactic power forever. The Emperor's advisors, all deeply suspicious of this new threat, suggested they act quickly. The galaxy was already tense, and the rise of a new superpower could send shockwaves through the cosmos. The universe's oldest races had seen empires rise and fall, but never had they witnessed such a sudden shift in the balance of power. Humanity, the underdog, was now on the verge of something that could potentially make them the most powerful force in the galaxy. On the other side of the galaxy, the Praxian Federation, a coalition of peaceful planets, heard the same rumors. They feared for their survival. The Praxians had always prided themselves on diplomacy, on forging alliances rather than building weapons. But now, the very idea that humanity might possess a warship so advanced shook them to their core. The Praxians called for an immediate summit. What if the galaxy's peacekeepers, those who upheld the balance of power, could no longer control humanity? Meanwhile, back on Earth, the construction of the warship began. Humanity's brightest minds and most skilled engineers were working tirelessly to bring the mysterious blueprint to life. The ship's design was complicated, and the technology was unlike anything they had ever encountered. They were forced to rely on the alien blueprints to guide them, making the construction process both thrilling and terrifying. The news of the warship's construction was leaked to the galaxy. The reaction was swift and mixed. Some viewed it as a necessary evil. Humanity, they believed, needed a way to protect itself from the threats in the galaxy. Others, however, saw the warship as a harbinger of doom. A powerful, independent humanity could disrupt the long-established peace and order the galaxy had known for millennia. As construction of the warship continued, the galaxy held its breath. The ship's power was undeniable, and every step of its creation brought new questions. What was humanity truly capable of? Were they ready to wield such power, or would they be consumed by it? In the final days of the warship's construction, the galaxy became eerily quiet. Alien ships began to stay away from human space. Diplomatic efforts stalled. Trade routes were abandoned. The rest of the galaxy seemed to be waiting for something, waiting for humanity to finish what it had started. The revelation. The galaxy had been holding its breath, waiting for the moment humanity would unveil its greatest creation. As the final layers of the warship's construction were completed, the tension reached a boiling point. There was a sense that the universe itself was on edge, as if the stars themselves were watching to see what would happen next. Humanity's leaders called a public event to reveal the warship to the galaxy. The media buzzed with excitement, fear, and uncertainty. This wasn't just a ship, it was a symbol of everything humanity had strived for: survival, power, and progress. The question everyone asked was, could humanity truly wield such a force? The moment the warship emerged from the vast construction bay, its sheer size and scale took the galaxy by surprise. The ship was massive, its hull gleaming under the light of distant stars, its design both sleek and intimidating. It looked as though it had been sculpted by the stars themselves, as if it had always been meant to exist. The silent hum of its energy systems could be heard from miles away, a constant reminder of the power it contained. But it wasn't just its size that captivated the galaxy, it was the technology that powered it. Experts who had studied the alien blueprint had been stunned by its complexity. The engines defied all known laws of physics, bending space itself to allow faster-than-light travel with ease. The ship's hull was coated with an unknown material, capable of withstanding the most destructive forces in the universe. Its weapon systems were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Energy cannons that could decimate entire fleets with a single strike, and shield generators that made the ship nearly invulnerable. The galaxy's first reaction was shock, followed by fear. The Zhurek Dominion, the galaxy's most powerful empire, had always ruled through might. They had never feared any civilization, believing their advanced technology and immense military might made them untouchable. But now, the Dominion's leaders gathered in secret. They knew that if humanity's warship was real, it could change everything. The balance of power that the Dominion had held for centuries could collapse in an instant. On the other side of the galaxy, the Praxian Federation scrambled to call an emergency council meeting. The Praxians, known for their peaceful ways, were terrified. The idea that humanity had the ability to create such a powerful warship sent them into a panic. What would happen to the fragile peace they had worked so hard to maintain? Could they stand against a civilization that had the potential to rival even the Zhurek Dominion? Even the neutral sectors of the galaxy were not immune to the growing fear. Trading routes slowed, and alien ships began avoiding human-controlled space, unsure of what to expect. Messages flooded in from various galactic factions, all asking the same question: what were humanity's true intentions? Humanity, however, was not afraid. As the warship was revealed to the public, the leaders of Earth issued a simple message: we do not seek war. We only seek to protect ourselves. But behind that message lay a deeper truth. Humanity was not just defending itself, it was asserting its place in the galaxy. The warship wasn't just a defense mechanism, it was a statement. Humanity was no longer the weak, insignificant species it once was. They had the power to challenge the established order. But even as the warship's creators basked in their achievement, there was a growing unease within their own ranks. The more they studied the warship, the more they realized that they didn't fully understand its capabilities. What if the technology they had unlocked was too much for them to control? What if the very thing they had built to ensure their survival would end up destroying them? As humanity celebrated its success, an unexpected transmission came in from an unknown source. The message was brief but chilling. You are not ready. The ship is a weapon, and weapons do not choose sides. You have been warned. The message was quickly traced to a remote part of the galaxy, but the sender's identity remained a mystery. Some dismissed it as a threat from one of the alien empires, an attempt to frighten humanity into submission. Others believed it was a warning from something far older, perhaps even the creators of the Warship itself. Whatever the truth was, the message could not be ignored. As humanity stood on the brink of galactic power, they were faced with a choice. Would they use their new weapon to secure their place among the stars, or would they be consumed by the very thing they had created? As the galaxy watched, the first true test of the Warship's power was about to begin. Would it defend humanity, or would it be their undoing? The question hung in the air as the universe held its breath, waiting for humanity to reveal what came next. The true test of their strength had only just begun. Building the unthinkable. Humanity had set the galaxy on edge, and now the pressure to prove themselves was at its peak. The Warship was complete, but what lay ahead was more challenging than anyone had anticipated. The ship was more than just a marvel of engineering. It was an enigma. Its creators, the brightest minds on Earth, had poured everything into making it a reality. But now, as the final touches were added, they realized something unsettling. They didn't fully understand the ship's potential. It had been designed based on alien blueprints, and while the ship had taken shape according to plan, the complexity of its systems defied all known science. Some parts of the ship's inner workings were still unexplained. The power it could unleash was undeniable, but was it safe? Was humanity truly prepared for what they had unleashed? The Warship stood in the vast hangar, its hull gleaming under the harsh lights, like an ancient predator waiting to awaken. Its powerful engines hummed quietly, as if waiting for a command to shatter the stillness of space. Despite the challenges, the human engineers had done the unthinkable. They had built it, a weapon of unimaginable power. As the Warship was moved to its launch pad, the reality of what was about to happen hit home. The human race had stepped into a new era, one where they would no longer be just passengers in the galaxy, but active players in the grand game of power. The question on everyone's mind was simple. Would humanity be able to control this new power, or would they be overwhelmed by it? Across the galaxy, other civilizations were watching closely. The Zurich Dominion, long the undisputed rulers of the galaxy, were growing anxious. Their spies had reported back. Humanity's Warship was a game-changer. The Dominion's fleet was still the most powerful in the universe, but they had never faced anything like this before. The moment humanity activated the Warship, everything could change. The balance of power, carefully maintained for centuries, was at risk. The Praxian Federation, though far from the military might of the Zurich, felt the tremors of this shift too. They had always been peacekeepers, using diplomacy and alliances to maintain a stable galaxy. But with the rise of humanity's Warship, the foundation of their peaceful existence was beginning to crack. Could they rely on diplomacy alone, or would they need to reconsider their position in this new galaxy? Humanity, on the other hand, was not so much concerned about what the galaxy thought. They were focused on something more immediate. The Warship's first test. There was no turning back now. The engineers, the military commanders, and the government leaders all gathered to watch as the massive Warship powered up for its maiden flight. The moment had arrived. The hangar doors opened, revealing the cold expanse of space beyond. The Warship, now fully operational, began its ascent. Its engines roared to life, and for the first time, humanity saw its greatest creation rise from the ground. As the ship lifted off, the sound of the engines filled the air, a deep, resonating hum that sent a shiver through everyone watching. It wasn't just a ship. It was a force of nature, a living entity, and it was about to show the galaxy what it could do. But as the Warship soared higher, something unexpected happened. A ripple passed through the fabric of space around the ship, a distortion that was impossible to explain. The ship's energy systems flickered for a moment, then stabilized. The engineers exchanged worried glances. Was this a glitch in the system, or had they just uncovered something even more dangerous? As the Warship ascended into orbit, its sensors began to pick up strange readings. There was a disturbance in deep space, something that shouldn't have been there. The warship's crew, composed of humanity's finest pilots and military leaders, quickly adjusted the ship's course to investigate. They were prepared for combat, ready to defend their creation if necessary. What they found, however, was far beyond their expectations. A fleet of ships, alien ships, emerged from the shadows of the distant stars. These ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen, their designs far more advanced and ominous than anything in the known galaxy. Their weapons were charged, ready to strike. It seemed the galaxy wasn't just watching humanity's rise, it was reacting. The unknown fleet moved swiftly toward the warship, and the tension was palpable. Humanity's new warship was prepared for this, but no one had anticipated such a bold move from the galaxy's unknown powers. Were they friends or foes? Did they know the true power of humanity's creation? The unknown fleet moved swiftly toward the warship, and the tension was palpable. Humanity's new warship was prepared for this, but no one had anticipated such a bold move from the galaxy's unknown powers. Were they friends or foes? Did they know the true power of humanity's creation? As the two fleets faced each other in the cold void of space, the warship's crew braced for what could be the most important battle in humanity's history. They didn't know if they could win this fight, but one thing was clear. There would be no turning back now. The question that hung in the air was simple, but profound. Could humanity's warship protect them, or would it be the very thing that led to their destruction? In the silence of space, the warship prepared to face the first true test of its power. The crew stared at the approaching alien fleet, each person wondering if they were about to witness humanity's greatest victory, or its final downfall. And then, as the two forces locked eyes in the darkness, the first shots were fired. The first test. The galaxy held its breath. Humanity's warship, now fully operational, stood poised at the edge of the unknown. Its massive hull gleamed against the backdrop of distant stars as the alien fleet closed in. The tension in the ship's command center was palpable. Every officer, every crew member, knew the gravity of the moment. This was the warship's first true test, a test not just of its power, but of humanity's ability to wield it. As the alien fleet drew nearer, their ships were a haunting sight. They were sleek, dark, and radiated a menacing energy. Their weapons were primed and ready. These were not the scattered forces of the galaxy, but a unified front, one that had been watching humanity's rise closely. They knew what the warship represented. They knew the risk it posed. And they weren't about to let it fly unchecked. The warship's captain, Commander Rachel Harper, stood at the helm, her hands steady on the controls despite the swirling tension. She glanced at her crew, all of them prepared for the worst. They had trained for this moment, but no amount of preparation could erase the uncertainty. What would they find when the battle began? Would the ship perform as it was supposed to, or would they fall short of expectations? All systems online, Captain, the chief engineer reported. Weapons, shields, and engines are fully operational. Ready for engagement. Understood, Captain Harper replied. Initiate defensive protocols. Prepare to engage if they make the first move. The alien fleet continued to close the gap, its ships gliding through space with unnerving precision. The crew watched as the alien vessels aligned themselves in a formation that suggested a coordinated attack. Their leader, a mysterious alien race known as the Kinthar, was known for their ruthlessness. They had conquered many worlds in their time, and they saw humanity as a threat to their power. The first strike came without warning. A massive energy blast shot from one of the Kinthar ships, streaking through the void. It was fast, nearly impossible to avoid, but the warship's shields flared to life just in time. The blast collided with the ship's energy barrier, causing a violent ripple of light and energy. The warship shook, but its shields held firm. A deep hum filled the ship's hull, signaling the first test of its defenses. The crew cheered in relief. Humanity's ship had withstood the first strike. But the Kinthar weren't done. A flurry of energy blasts followed, all aimed directly at the warship. This time, the warship's weapons were ready, its energy cannons powered up, each one humming with raw energy. A flicker of light surged from the ship as the captain issued the command. Return fire. Full power to energy cannons. The warship unleashed its first volley. The cannons roared, sending bolts of energy streaking across the void. The blast struck the lead Kinthar ship with devastating force. The ship was engulfed in a brilliant explosion, disintegrating almost instantly. The crew could only watch in stunned silence as the alien vessel was reduced to debris. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. The Kinthar, stunned by the unexpected ferocity of humanity's response, quickly regrouped. They fired back with even more intensity, but humanity's warship was already adapting. Its advanced systems countered the incoming blasts, and the crew responded with precision. It was a battle of skill and technology, with each side testing the limits of their power. The warship's speed was another unexpected advantage. Unlike the heavy, slow-moving ships of the Kinthar, the warship darted through space with incredible agility. It could weave in and out of enemy fire, dodging shots that would have destroyed any other ship in moments. Captain Harper's voice rang out through the command center. "Target their engines. We need to disable their fleet." The warship's weapons shifted focus, locking onto the engines of the Kinthar ships. With a single blast, one of the enemy's rear vessels exploded, sending debris scattering into the void. Another blast hit its target, and the Kinthar fleet began to fall into disarray. But the Kinthar weren't finished yet. As one ship was destroyed, another took its place, and they began to use their advanced tactics to try and outmaneuver the warship. The battle intensified, becoming a brutal exchange of fire. Humanity's warship was powerful, but it was facing an enemy that was not easily defeated. Just when it seemed the tide might turn in favor of humanity, a new threat emerged. A massive Kinthar flagship, larger and more heavily armed than anything they had encountered so far, entered the fray. It unleashed a devastating weapon, a massive energy pulse that rocked the warship, sending shockwaves through its systems. The warship's shields flickered, and alarms blared across the command center. "Shields down to 40%. The engineer shouted, panic rising in her voice. "We're losing power." Captain Harper clenched her fists, determination flashing in her eyes. "We can't let them take us down now. Prepare to activate secondary systems. We're not done yet." The warship had been designed with multiple fail-safes, hidden weapons, and backup systems, just in case. With the flagship closing in, Harper made the call. The warship's secondary weapon systems roared to life, unleashing a barrage of energy that slammed into the Kinthar flagship. In the blink of an eye, the flagship's shields buckled, and its hull began to fracture. The crew's cheers erupted as the enemy flagship exploded in a flash of light, sending debris and fragments into the cold darkness of space. The remaining Kinthar ships, now leaderless and demoralized, turned to retreat. The battle was over. Humanity had won its first test. But as the warship floated in the aftermath, its crew knew that this victory was just the beginning. They had faced the Kinthar and emerged victorious. But the galaxy was vast. More enemies would come, more threats would arise, and humanity's place in the stars would be challenged again and again. The warship had proven its worth, but there were still so many unknowns. What lay ahead in the silent depths of space? And would humanity continue to rise, or would the weight of its newfound power consume them? The silence in the command center was broken only by the hum of the ship's systems, until the next challenge, the next test, came. The Galactic reaction. In the wake of humanity's stunning victory over the Kinthar, the galaxy was thrust into a state of shock. The news spread like wildfire. Humanity had unleashed a warship so powerful that it had obliterated one of the most fearsome alien fleets the universe had ever known. The Kinthar, who had long ruled over many worlds, had been reduced to nothing more than scattered debris. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer a small, weak species to be ignored or underestimated. Across the galaxy, reactions were swift and mixed. For many, this newfound power represented hope that a younger civilization could rise and challenge the old empires. For others, it was the beginning of a new, terrifying chapter in galactic history. The Zhirek Dominion, long the most powerful and feared empire in the galaxy, wasted no time in reacting. Their emperor, an ancient being whose cruelty was as legendary as his intelligence, had been closely monitoring humanity's rise. The Zhirek had always viewed themselves as the unquestioned rulers of the stars, but now, with humanity's worship proving to be so devastating, that dominance was under threat. An emergency council was convened aboard the Zhirek flagship, a massive ship that loomed like a shadow over the galaxy. The Emperor's advisors were divided. Some believed they should act immediately, sending a fleet to destroy humanity's warship before it could rise further. Others argued that it was too dangerous to provoke such a powerful force. After all, humanity had just demonstrated that their warship could destroy fleets in a matter of moments. "The balance has shifted," the Emperor finally said, his voice low and cold. "We cannot let this go unchallenged. We will test their strength." The Dominion's fleet, massive and powerful, was already on the move. Meanwhile, the Praxian Federation, always more focused on peace than power, was struggling to come to terms with the new reality. Their worlds, once peaceful havens for diplomacy and trade, were now in danger. The Praxians had always relied on their alliances to maintain peace in the galaxy, but humanity's warship threatened to disrupt everything. Praxian leaders gathered in an emergency summit, their faces filled with concern. They had been hopeful that humanity's rapid technological advancement would lead to an era of cooperation, but the warship was a stark reminder that power could just as easily lead to conflict. If humanity decided to use its warship to assert dominance, it would be impossible to stop them. "What can we do?" one of the Praxian representatives asked, his voice filled with anxiety. "We cannot fight a war like this. They have power beyond anything we've ever seen. We must appeal to their sense of reason." Another Praxian leader replied, "Perhaps this warship was only built for defense, not conquest. We must reach out to humanity before it is too late." While the Zhirek and the Praxians debated how to handle the situation, another reaction was unfolding in the neutral sectors of the galaxy. Once a place of quiet trade and diplomacy, these regions were now plunged into uncertainty. The warship had proven its power, and no one knew how far humanity would go with it. Would they seek to expand their reach, or would they retreat and continue their quiet existence, still unaware of their place in the galaxy? Civilian ships across the galaxy were now avoiding human space, afraid of getting caught in the middle of a galactic power struggle. Merchants and traders who once saw humanity as a promising new market were now questioning whether it was worth the risk to continue doing business with them. The reaction from the galaxy's governments was perhaps the most telling. The neutral factions were making secret pacts and alliances, each trying to prepare for the inevitable confrontation. They began to secretly send spies into human-controlled space, seeking to understand more about the warship and its capabilities. What were humanity's true intentions? Would they use their power to protect themselves, or would they turn on the galaxy as a whole? Humanity's leaders, meanwhile, were aware of the growing tension. Back on Earth, the President held a council with military leaders and top scientists. The warship was humanity's greatest achievement, but now they had to deal with the galaxy's reaction. It was clear that the ship could not remain a secret forever. The galaxy was already on high alert, and sooner or later it would come to a head. "We have two options," the President said, his voice steady. "We can either prove that we are not a threat, that we built this ship for protection, not conquest, or we can assert our dominance and become the most powerful force in the galaxy. The choice is ours." The leaders knew that if they chose the path of domination, they would alienate the very civilizations they had hoped to form alliances with. But if they chose the path of peace, there was no guarantee that the galaxy would believe them. The distrust of humanity was already deep, and their warship had only made it worse. "We must be careful," one military advisor cautioned. "We don't know what the Zhurek or the Praxians will do. They may come for us if they believe we are a threat." The president nodded. "We will send a message to the galaxy, a message of peace, of protection. But we will not be weak. If they come for us, we will defend ourselves." As the diplomatic efforts were set into motion, the first signs of danger began to appear. Ships were spotted on the edge of human-controlled space. Zhurek ships preparing for war. The galaxy's reaction was clear. The status quo was being threatened, and only one side could come out on top. Humanity's future now hung in the balance. The next moves they made could either solidify their place among the stars or destroy any chance of peace. The tension that had been building across the galaxy reached a breaking point. Humanity's warship had proven its incredible might, and while some factions still held hope that humanity would choose the path of diplomacy, others believed it was only a matter of time before the new power in the galaxy would assert itself. The Zhurek Dominion, the Praxian Federation, and other factions all began to prepare for what was to come. The delicate balance of power was on the verge of collapse. Humanity's leaders, despite their desire for peace, knew that there was no turning back now. The Zhurek were coming, and their fleet was massive. A direct confrontation seemed inevitable. The question was not whether a battle would happen, but when and where it would take place. Commander Rachel Harper stood on the bridge of the warship, her eyes scanning the vast expanse of space. The ship was ready. It had passed every test and proven its might. But now the stakes were higher than ever. Humanity wasn't just defending itself. It was now standing in the crosshairs of a galaxy that had been forced to take notice. "Captain," the communications officer called out, her voice steady but filled with tension. "We're picking up a massive fleet on the outer rim of our sector. It's the Zhurek Dominion. They're coming." Harper's heart tightened. She had expected this, but the reality of it was still sobering. The Zhurek had been the most powerful force in the galaxy for centuries, and their reputation for ruthless efficiency was well earned. They had never faced a threat like humanity's warship, but that didn't mean they wouldn't try to destroy it. The warship's systems came to life, its weapons and shields primed for the battle ahead. Harper knew that this fight would be unlike any other. They weren't just facing another alien fleet. They were facing an empire that had ruled the galaxy with an iron fist. As the Zhurek fleet neared, humanity's warships stood ready. The vastness of space seemed to grow smaller as the two forces closed in. On the view screen, the enemy fleet appeared as a dark shadow, an unstoppable force in motion. Hundreds of ships, cruisers, destroyers, and dreadnoughts loomed like a storm cloud gathering on the horizon. "Prepare for battle," Harper ordered. "All crew, man your stations. This is the moment we've been training for." The first volley came from the Zhurek ships, massive energy blasts that tore through space with terrifying speed. The warship's shields flared to life, absorbing the blows, but the impact was enough to shake the entire vessel. The crew was thrown off balance, but they quickly recovered. The warship's systems were designed to withstand heavy bombardment, and its shields were holding for now. "Return fire," Harper commanded, her voice firm. "Target their lead ships and fire at will." The warship's energy cannons unleashed a barrage of devastating blasts. Each shot was precise and deadly, tearing through the Zhurek ships with terrifying force. The first cruiser disintegrated in a brilliant flash of light, its remains scattering into the cold void of space. The Zhurek fleet retaliated with all its might, but humanity's warship was faster, more agile. It moved like a predator, dodging incoming fire and striking with deadly precision. The Zhurek fleet was formidable, but humanity's warship was unlike anything they had ever faced. The Zhurek commanders quickly realized that their conventional tactics would not work against such a powerful, advanced foe. They had underestimated humanity's technological leap. The warship's engines defied conventional understanding, allowing it to outmaneuver even the fastest Zhurek ships. Its weapons were devastating, each shot capable of obliterating an entire ship. But the Jirac weren't willing to go down easily. They began to adapt, changing tactics, sending smaller, more agile ships in an attempt to flank the warship. They deployed advanced countermeasures, jamming the warship's communications and targeting systems. The battle had become a deadly game of cat and mouse. Incoming fighters, the tactical officer shouted. They're launching smaller ships to overwhelm us. Harper's mind raced. The warship had the firepower to destroy large ships, but the smaller, faster Jirac fighters could cause significant damage if they weren't dealt with quickly. She made a split-second decision. Activate the fighter bays. Send out our interceptors, she ordered. We'll take care of their fighters. Focus on the bigger ships. The warship's hangars opened, and humanity's own fleet of smaller ships launched into the battle, engaging the Jirac fighters in a series of dogfights. The sky above the battlefield was filled with flashing lights as the two forces clashed in a chaotic aerial ballet. Humanity's pilots, trained in combat against far superior numbers, fought with determination and skill, fending off the Jirac assault. But despite their efforts, the Jirac fleet was relentless. They pushed forward, firing their weapons with deadly precision. One of the warship's secondary shields flickered, then failed. A large blast hit the side of the ship, sending a jolt through the hull. The crew struggled to maintain control as alarms blared, signaling critical damage to the ship's starboard side. Damage report, Harper barked. Minor structural damage, the engineer responded, but the starboard weapons system is offline. We're working on it. Harper's gaze never wavered from the view screen. The battle raged on, and they were beginning to lose ground. The Jirac were wearing them down, their relentless assault slowly chipping away at humanity's warship. But Harper refused to give up. They had built this warship to be humanity's last line of defense, and they would not falter now. The battle seemed endless, the exchange of fire filling the void of space. Humanity's warship was powerful, but the Jirac were determined to test that power. As the battle reached its peak, a new, unexpected force arrived on the scene. Reinforcements from the Praxian Federation, ships carrying messages of peace, but also of caution. They had come to mediate, but they were also there to ensure that the conflict didn't spiral out of control. With the Jirac fleet pressing on from one side and the Praxian ships entering the scene, the galaxy's most dangerous battle was only just beginning. Would humanity's warship hold out long enough to prove that it was more than just a weapon, or would it be swallowed by the brutal tides of galactic war? The answer would come in the final, decisive moments of the battle. Silence across the stars. The war raged on. Humanity's warship, battered and bruised, stood as the last beacon of hope for the human race. But the battle was far from over. The Jirac Dominion, relentless in their assault, showed no signs of backing down. Their fleet had been dealt a heavy blow, but their power and strategy were unmatched. The Praxian Federation's intervention had done little to stem the tide of battle. Instead, it added another layer of complexity. Their arrival only intensified the pressure humanity faced. Captain Rachel Harper, standing firm in the command center, surveyed the chaotic scene unfolding before her. The warship's systems had been stretched to their limits. Shields flickered, weapons were offline, and the once sleek, formidable vessel had taken a pounding from the unyielding Jirac barrage. Yet it was still standing. Humanity's creation, the weapon they had built to ensure survival, had survived long enough to prove its worth. But how much longer could it hold out? On the view screen, the Jirac fleet began to regroup, reorganizing their ships in an attempt to break through the human defenses once and for all. They were closing in for the final assault. The Praxian Federation, caught between the warring factions, issued diplomatic pleas, attempting to end the violence before the galaxy was plunged into full-scale war. Their ships, sleek and peaceful in design, floated uncertainly in the background. The Praxians could not ignore the reality of the situation any longer. They were no longer the protectors of peace. They were pawns in a game much larger than themselves. Humanity's warship was down to its last legs. The crew had done everything they could. They had held the line, fought valiantly, and proved that humanity was no longer a species to be disregarded. But as the Zurich fleet closed in for the kill, the final question was whether humanity's power, so carefully crafted and so fiercely defended, would be enough to deter the looming disaster. And then, silence. For a brief moment, the battle ceased. The Zurich ships halted their advance, their weapons still locked on the warship, but they made no move to strike. The Praxian fleet, watching from a distance, also suspended its actions, waiting for the next move. Captain Harper's voice broke the tension. What just happened? Her tactical officer's response was quiet but clear. I'm not sure, Captain. It's as if everything just stopped. The entire sector. Quiet. The quiet was deafening. For the first time in what felt like forever, the chaos of battle seemed to disappear. No shots, no explosions, just the hum of the warship's systems and the uneasy stillness of space. It was then that the transmission came. A single, unknown ship appeared at the edge of the battle. The vessel was massive, but its design was nothing like the ships of the Zurich or the Praxians. Its surface shimmered, shifting in an almost organic way. The message was brief, but its implications would change everything. The voice that came through was deep and ancient, its tone devoid of emotion. This conflict ends here. The words sent a shockwave through the fleet. The Zurich fleet hesitated, clearly shocked by the sudden arrival of a force they did not recognize. The Praxian ships, ever cautious, had also taken a step back, unsure of what was to come. Humanity's warship remained stationary, its crew equally uncertain of the new arrival's intentions. The unknown ship spoke again. You have been tested, humanity. The ship you have built is a weapon of unimaginable power, and you have wielded it well. But know this, no power can last forever. The galaxy is not ready for a new superpower. The time for dominance has passed. Captain Harper gripped the console tightly, her knuckles white. Who are you? We are the keepers of the balance, came the reply. For eons, we have watched over the galaxy, ensuring that no one civilization rises above the others. Your warship, though powerful, was not meant for this galaxy. It was not created for you. The crew of the warship exchanged nervous glances. What did this mean? Was the warship not truly humanity's to control? Had they overstepped their bounds? The voice continued. We do not seek to destroy you, humanity. But the galaxy cannot bear the weight of your power. The warship you have built is far beyond your control. If left unchecked, it will tear apart the fabric of the universe itself. A profound silence followed the transmission. The alien ship, the keepers of the balance, seemed to float in the distance, watching humanity's response. It was clear that they were offering a choice. Relinquish the warship's power and restore balance, or face the consequences. Captain Harper stood tall, her resolve unwavering. We built this ship for our survival, for our future. We won't surrender it. The voice from the unknown ship responded. You misunderstand. We are not asking you to give up your creation. We are offering you a new path, a path where humanity does not dominate but coexists, where the galaxy remains balanced, and no one species holds all the power. You must choose wisely. The galaxy's future is in your hands. A long pause followed. The crew of the warship, humanity's greatest creation, stood at the crossroads of history. The question now was not whether they could defeat their enemies. It was whether they could control their newfound power, and whether they would use it to dominate or protect. The silence across the stars stretched on, the weight of the decision pressing heavily on Captain Harper and her crew. They had come so far, but now they had to decide. Would humanity rise to become the rulers of the galaxy, or would they embrace the responsibility of their power, seeking to protect and preserve the balance of the cosmos? And so, the galaxy held its breath, waiting for humanity's answer. The stars were quiet, but for how long? The silence would not last forever.